Good everyone, welcome to Derek the Counsellor TV. I'm Derek Leung, your host. In this show, we're going to be talking about the A to Z of mental health, from anxiety to depression, from parenting to relationships, and myself being a guy, Asian and Christians. Those, cultural issues would come into the mix in all that we talk about. And so let's get on with the show today. Today we're going to continue with our series on debunking myths regarding depression. One of the myths that we're talking about today is going to be, if you have depression, Christian needs to go to church more, read more Bible, and pray more. Now, the main issue with that is, although this is really great advice for Christians without depression and is a great way to grow our faith, it is almost extremely challenging, if not impossible, for someone with depression to engage in all those activities. And this is because of the general symptoms of depression. And let's talk about that. In depression, some of the symptoms includes extreme sense of sadness, and it's a persistent sense of sadness. So it's not just comes and go like what you would normally experience. Another the symptom is the interest, a great loss of interest in things that you usually are passionate about, things that you might love to go bike riding or swimming, but in depression you may actually lose those sense of interest. What also would happen is that if you're suffering from bipolar, you may actually get spikes in interest and then an extreme drop as well. Sense of guilt is another symptom. Guilt, not just guilt on its own, often it comes with a sense of shame as well. So that plays a large part into how we are when we talk about being Christian, how good Christian you are, how faithful you are. So that plays into the psyche of a Christian who's struggling with depression. Energy, in general, in depression, you would experience a loss of energy. So extreme lethargy, you could stay in bed all day, don't feel like doing anything, literally have no energy to do anything. And again, if you're suffering by bipolar, this could be a bit different because you could actually experience big spikes and then big drop and cycles through that. Concentration is a big thing. You would lose your sense of concentration, your ability to concentrate. For example, reading something, watching a movie, studying, you'll find it really, really difficult to hold your concentration to do a particular task that you would find normally you'd probably be able to do with a bit of effort. Appetite, you would lose appetite as well. And again, bipolar presents differently. Psychomotor is an interesting way to say that, hey, when you lose the pace that you move and the pace that you talk. So I've had experience with clients coming in where they literally with depression, they literally have to drag themselves into the office, and once they're in the chair in the office, they're just literally slumped. Everything is just slow. The movement is slow, not because they want to be slow, it's just that it just becomes slow. The speech slows, movement is slow, everything just slows down and everything's downcast, and literally you can see cartoons with a dark cloud over their heads, and that's exactly what it is like. And lastly, one of the most debilitating symptoms of depression is the suicidal thoughts. These thoughts could be very persisting, so it can actually persist through the day. And the voices, it's actually one voice, your voice, but you can hear the voice that says, "Oh, you're better off dead, you're better off not being here," and it can actually really be distracting from everything that you do. So let's put all those together and have a think, how does this affect someone who's a Christian suffering with depression? So how do you think it fits if you say to someone, hey, if you've got depression, you need to read more Bible, all right? You need to pray more, and you need to come to church more, engage in fellowship. Well, in fact, like I said before, it's almost impossible because of these symptoms that you have in depression. So people with depression tend to have a hard time to concentrate, and they struggle with energy. So when we pray, we need to focus. So in saying that, one of the major symptoms of depression is that you saw before is the lack of ability, the reduced ability to concentrate. So praying takes much of that, so that's out the window. The other major issue in praying, reading the Bible, and engaging in fellowship is the lack of energy. It's extremely difficult to focus on prayer with the lack of energy as well, and to engage with people at church, to talk, to engage in the normal sense of life and how you can fellowship with people. Since it's so tiring, it's most likely that people with depression will actually just avoid going to church because they just know how tiring it could be. And the focus during the church service could be just way too overwhelming as well. So just keep those things in mind. And not only would someone be struggling with a cognitive act of praying, engaging with others, or reading the Bible, but the sense of extreme sadness and the thoughts of suicide can be actually so overwhelming that it actually stops you from thinking and concentrating on anything else that needs to happen in a church service, in reading the Bible, in praying, whatever. Another problem is that often depression does not come alone as the only pathology. A lot of times depression comes as a package with anxiety disorder. So not only are you dealing with anxiety, the symptoms of that, you're dealing with the symptoms of anxiety and depression. And often depression could be actually a symptom of something larger, for example, post-traumatic stress disorder. So it could be quite complex when someone just says, I've got depression. It could be lots of different things going on. So you can see that tasks that what we sort of Christians without depression could take for granted in praying, in reading the Bible, in going to church, in engaging in fellowship, that could help us grow in our faith. These tasks are not just difficult, they're almost impossible. You might as well be asking the person with depression to climb Mount Everest. So these sort of activities, these ideas actually are not helpful. So the thing is, and the result is that if a Christian with depression believe that they have to engage in this activity, they actually set themselves up to fail. And in doing so, that actually would increase more guilt and more shame. And the tricky bit is, not only are you generating guilt and shame now, the shame and guilt is already there from the depression, because that's part of the symptoms as well. So not only are you dealing with the original symptoms, we've actually compounded more because the person struggling with the depression is struggling with doing what would be seemingly normal things for Christians to do. But the complex issue is not just even that, is that a lot of people, most of us, come with some sense of guilt and some sense of shame from our family of origin, from a sense of who we are, our self-image. And sometimes the sense of guilt and shame is actually what could actually be part of the triggers in the depression as well. So not only are we dealing with what's happening right now, we're dealing in depression, that the sense of guilt and shame, we're dealing with if we keep pushing to do these things, you're actually compounding it with even more guilt and shame because it most likely fail. And you're also dealing with what's in the past with family of origin. And the thing is with depression is that it reduces your ability to deal with this thing as well. So everything just come crashing down and it just becomes impossible. So what should we do? Well, for those of you who are suffering from depression, I think doing the normal things, what you've believed to have been the normal task to engage with your faith, to increase your faith, we need to do something different. Okay, so doing things doesn't make you a good Christian, and it's not in our works that saves us, not in our works that engages with God. Your faith is actually not the thing in question here. In fact, depression actually has its own talk, and it distorts how we feel about ourselves, it distorts how we see and feel about others, and it definitely distorts how we see and feel about God. And most likely that the depression will probably put you so way down below where you are, you just totally destroy your self-image. There will be just so much guilt and shame with it as well. So rather than relying on traditional methods where you have to engage, where you have to put effort in to engage with God, I'll suggest you to let go and allow God to work on you. And one way to do that is to soak in prayer. Healing rooms around the world practice this all the time. This is when you just literally lie down and you put some worship music on, and your mindset and what you say to God is, hey God, I can't do this. I need you to come heal me. Just literal surrender. Just surrender to God and let him just wash over you with his presence while the music is playing. You know, not even attempting to pray, and just be. Just let it be, and just be that, and allow God to minister to you. So stop trying to allow to make God, to do something for God, because God is there for you. He's for you. So know that in your pain, in your suffering, He's the one who's going to be coming here to heal you. He's not saying to you, you must work harder to get better. He's saying to you, I will look after you. Okay, just remember that. Remember that God is for you. He's not against you, and He knows that you're suffering. So for those of you who are friends and family of someone who's suffering depression, there's something different that we need to do with them. They need patience. They need your love, and they need grace. They need your understanding. Although you may be well-meaning in trying to help them, to pull them out of the depression, sometimes treating depression is actually quite counterintuitive. You know, some people would say, hey, look, you just need to get out of bed and just do stuff. It doesn't work like that. Same as saying, you know, you need to get out and get to church. It doesn't quite work like that. It's something endogenously happening inside our brains that stops us from doing these things. And what the person, what your family, or your friend and family member needs most now is actually just to know that you understand them, and you see them, and you're there for them, and you're not judging them. So it's really important for those of us who do not struggle with depression, when we come up, when we're with those who are with depression, to just be Christ for them. Be non-judgmental, be loving, be kind, be patient. Bring Christ to them. Bring church to them through you. Bring the presence of God with you. Just sit with them and be with them. Allow them to just heal in their time of suffering, and allow them time just to be, and not put expectations on them. It may be hard, it might go against everything that you feel you want to naturally do, to push them out the door to do something, but the pushing actually doesn't help. Because what would help is to actually engage in some counselling, engage in seeing a doctor, maybe some medication, and you praying for them, and is actually in God's intervening through you, through grace, that they're going to get better. So you know, if you have a loved one who find it difficult to go to church, then be church for them. Be present with them. Be Christ to them, like I said before. Love them and demonstrate God's love for them by being patient, non-judgmental, being gracious and loving. Throw out what works for you. Throw out your expectation of yourself and expectations what you think the others should be. Throw out the sense of responsibility that you have to fix them. Because sometimes when we try to think that we have to fix them, we try to do things, and in trying to do things, that actually makes things worse, and it will frustrate you and frustrate them. So I hope this works. I hope this helps. If you like what you've seen, this is the end of the video today. So if you like what you've seen, please share and subscribe. Share with your friends and family. Spread the message, and I hope to see you soon. And next time on Derek the Counsellor TV. Goodbye. God bless.